contributor, Denise Gitsham. Thank you so much for being here, Denise. Always great to have you. I mean, look, from where we were last weekend to where we are now, Trump is saying he will decide this U.S. involvement. He gave it kind of this within 2-week window. Is that a realistic time frame? And do you think it's more sooner rather than later?
That's a great question. Nobody really knows the answer to it because President Trump loves to use this 2-week sort of time frame as a way of saying, we'll know in a bit. And, in a bit depends on how desperate you are to get the answer in terms of whether you think that's a long time or a short time. I think what President Trump is doing is smart because he's saying, I've got this time frame where I'm seriously considering every diplomatic and giving Iran every opportunity to diplomatically engage, to really bring this to an end before a real war breaks out, or expands, I guess, because we are in a war. But I think that what it also does is it allows Americans to strengthen their military presence in the region. As you saw, we've moved 3 aircraft carriers into the region. And what we need to do to ensure that to secure the 40,000 U.S. service members and just Americans in general that live in that region should be our top priority. And that's what that time frame allows us to do. It also allows Israel to further soften Iran by continuing to bomb whatever threats may be coming their way. And they already have superiority over the Iranian airspace. So, let's just see how this affects Iran and its willingness to come to the table.
Yeah, it's scary to think about what that timeline, what could happen within it. So we'll see what happens there. But, as we take a look at the U.S. involvement in this war, possibly, does all of this go against the, America First agenda that Trump has been talking about for so long?
Well, what does America First really mean? I mean, the fact that it's even called the MAGA agenda means that only one person can define it, and that's President Trump. I mean, anyone who's built on top of that understanding of America First, I mean, if he coined the phrase, he can define it however he wants, no matter what factions of the MAGA base want to say. Ultimately, President Trump has the final say. And that's why you've been seeing people like Tulsi Gabbard bow to President Trump when she stepped out of line. Tucker Carlson calling to apologize when he said that, President Trump was out over his ski tips. Even Steve Bannon's gotten the smackdown multiple times. Even when they were talking about the H-1B visas, he sided with Elon Musk, President Trump did, over Steve Bannon when they had that immigration fight. So, to those people, as a Republican, as a lifelong Republican, I would quote Trotsky, "You may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you." And those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. I suggest they crack open a history book and realize that the 2 world wars that we got drug into have proven the danger of ignoring threats in the hopes that they don't reach your doorstep.
Yeah, we've been talking with a lot of experts like yourself about what this all means. We're also taking a look at what Americans think, because a new poll from The Economist and YouGov shows a majority of Americans do not want the U.S. to get involved, full stop. 60% disapprove, while only 16% approve. So I don't know, does it drive a wedge between Trump and his base when you take a look at the numbers that large, being 60% disapprove?
Polls are always dependent on the questions that are asked, what the outcomes end up being, and if you are somebody who wants American involvement in a war, I mean, you're kind of sick, right? Like, who wants to bring on a war? And so really, depending on the wording of that question, I don't approve of war. I don't want war. But again, I would say Iran has been continuously engaging in warlike efforts towards America and actual warfare against our troops. I mean, look at what's happened since October 7th. We've had all of their proxies attacking U.S. service members in the region. We've had multiple attacks direct from Iran on Israel, our closest ally in the Middle East. They have continuously, even October 7th was instigated by Iran because it was through one of their terrorist proxies. And so, you may think that we're not at war and that engaging in warfare the way we think of warfare is a bad thing. And I think everyone should feel that way who embraces war. That's sick. But if you think that we're not already engaged in a war, then you're delusional.
Right. Well, you make a good point. I mean, nobody wants war, and we certainly don't want our military. Everybody that has a son or a daughter enrolled doesn't want to see that. Of course. So, okay. So while I have you, I got to ask you about Republican Senator Ted Cruz going on Tucker Carlson's YouTube show earlier this week, because we got our eyes on it. The two sparred over Iran. Let's take a listen to it together.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
What's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay,
No,
this is cute.
it's not
Okay.
even. You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says,
who's calling for the
you're the one who
overthrow of the
claims,
government.
You're the one
you
who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
All right. Well, they didn't go into a full arm wrestle there. But what did you make of the back and
or shootout, like a duel.
Right? Okay. So what did you make of the back and forth? You know, I mean, it's just something that we're watching. I'm just curious what you thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've known Senator Cruz since 1999. I worked with him on the Bush campaign, and you know, he's always sort of represented the conservative perspective on things, and he's been a stalwart conservative. Tucker Carlson has kind of gone on, you know, in my estimation, into la la land and really siding with extremist views on the fringe of our party. And I've seen, look, my social media feed is full of conservative thought leaders, and all I've seen is people overwhelmingly saying, what has happened to the Candace Owens and the Tucker Carlsons of this world? People that we used to think made some really good points and were intelligent, and, you know, that seem to have just really bought into this belief, again, the wrong belief, that if we just put our heads in the sands, then we can sort of avoid taking responsibility or engaging in any sort of warfare. But I just feel like reality must, in some way, shape, or form, take a hold of these people and say, look, again, you may not be interested in war, but war has already come to your doorstep. And if America first means anything, it should mean that we take care of the Americans, not just our country, the physical land, but the Americans that are actually at risk in the region, including our U.S. service members. So I don't really know what Tucker Carlson's trying to drive at, but he's going to continue to lose followers, except for people who are very much in the minority of our party, if he continues to talk about, you know, numbers and populations and things that really don't matter. What matters is principle. It doesn't matter if you open a fact book and, you know, I can look up on ChatGPT in 2 seconds what the population or the breakdown of something is. What he's trying to say is we don't want a regime change. I don't think President Trump wants a regime change. I don't think he cares who's in charge of Iran. I think all we care about is outcomes, and that means ending Iran's nuclear ambitions, full stop, period.
Yeah, look, Tucker has a lot of fans. He's got a lot of followers. A lot of people, though, did what? I mean, certainly, I used to work with the guy. But, I mean, certainly people thought that that was a little bit of a gotcha with that population thing. Last question for you. If you had to grade the Trump administration on the response right now, what would you give the Trump administration? Just curious.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Good job. Yeah, I mean, I think the president's doing a good job because what he's doing is he's remaining flexible. People might call it ambiguous. I think it's smart to be flexible because I think we need to give peace every shot and opportunity at working.
Okay, we'll see what's next. Denise, thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate you on a Saturday. We'll talk again soon. And Columbia University